Welcome to Connect to Joy. Your host, Carol DeChaine, is an intuitive spiritual guide for practical matters and Marconic multidimensional energy practitioner. Her quest is to help you realize new possibilities, discover and release what holds you back, and enable you to manifest an inspired life filled with joy. Join us on this journey of transformation. Now, here's your host, Carol DeChaine.
Welcome, beautiful spirits. Thank you for joining me here today. I'm Carol DeChaine, and my passion in life is to help you find your joy, to release what holds you back, and assist you to quantum leap your journey of self-discovery. I'm an intuitive, certified in life and business coaching, and a Marconic multidimensional energy practitioner and teacher. So if you're ready to start creating that life you've only dreamed of, that you deserve, let's have some fun. And let's get started right now.
Today we're going to talk about the chaos and all the energy in the world, whether you're on one side or another of everything that's happening. It doesn't really matter. You're bombarded with all this energy and all this stuff that's happening. So my guest, Nancy DeMello, is someone you may have heard on here before.
What can I say about Nancy? She is just a gem. I met her back in 1980 when her mother was our minister at Unity Church, and we have not only managed to stay close friends ever since, but we moved out of state together. We have been together through divorces, her children being born, parents dying. A lot of stuff happens in that many years. She has volunteered to help me when I was learning to be a life coach, and today she is being incredibly generous to actually have a coaching session on the air. This isn't planned. We haven't anything specific in mind except that we want to talk about how to survive the chaos and whatever it is that she needs to go through.
Maybe it will help you to figure out where you are in this world and what you need to do with all that's going on. Because if you're listening to it at the time that this is going to be put out in the airwaves or later, you may still need this and may still be appropriate for you. So welcome, Nancy. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been the craziest year and a half or so. And honestly, for one of the first times in my life, I don't really know what to do with it, with everything. It's unprecedented. I hate to use that word. And it feels like there may eventually be a new normal. I hate that word or term. But, I resist that term, right? But the truth is, I'm beginning to realize that I have to find a new normal, or at least what's a new normal for me, right? Because I don't think the world is exactly the way it used to be, and I'm not sure it will be, at least not in the immediate future, and possibly not ever.
I mean, it may be that it's not that we need to ever go back in our life and repeat where we've been, but it could be that we not necessarily always have to wear masks because people tell us we have to, but it could be anything that happens. I mean, we don't know.
That's true. I mean, this really could be universal application, not just, what the current COVID events are or whatever. This could really truly apply to any time in your life when you think you have a plan and you're looking to the future and projecting and trying to even almost control. My favorite word, my favorite subject. You make a plan, you put all your energy and your time and your thoughts and whatever into hoping, and a lot of us will take it clear till the end of our life. This is how I want my whole life to go, right? And unfortunately, I've learned that regardless of whether the rest of the world is doing, so yes, right now it seems like the entire world has been uprooted and tossed like a salad, right? But there are definitely been times in my life, when I was younger, like for instance, when my first marriage, when it became obvious to me that my first marriage I was not going to grow old and die with this person, that it was going to end prematurely by my definition of premature. And that took a lot of adjustment to go, whoa, all my plans are now kaplooey. And that could happen with death or health or work or finances or family. Almost anything can topple your apple cart, right? And I think it's just harder for me right now because I've been able to deal with my own personal apple cart toppling before. And it's like, oh yeah, I know how to do this, right? But this is like the whole world. apple cart has been toppled. And so it just feels like there's so much more confusion and chaos and confrontation and conflict and choose a side and what's bad and what's good and and it's just like, "Wah, I don't know what to do with it." So I'm super grateful to be here. And hopefully maybe we can work some of this out and figure out how to get from day 1 to day 2 to day 3.
Well, and it's so weird because it didn't even occur to me that a lot of what's going on has to deal with fear. I mean, it kind of did, but it's so overwhelmingly obvious now. It doesn't matter what side you're on, what you believe, you'll find something to show you that you're right because there's so much different information out there. If you search for something, you can find that you're right. And then somebody else searches in a different belief structure and they'll find they're right. And everybody's trying to convince everybody else, and it's all done out of fear. And having to be right, that's another thing. That's one of my personal favorite. Oops.
Wait, my three favorite subjects: being right, controlling things. What was the other one? I don't
Fear.
know.
Yeah, well, it's like you're fearful with the COVID stuff. You're fearful to get it. Maybe you're fearful, maybe to take the vaccine.
Yeah.
Maybe you're fearful to be around other people who don't take the vaccine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's complex.
It's very complex because you can go out, especially like in California, you can find some people that are totally masked all the time, other people that are masked occasionally, and some people that refuse to wear a mask unless they go somewhere that requires it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of confusing that way. It may have to do with who's vaccinated, who's not. I'm not taking a side in this particular podcast. I'm just saying, know yourself. Know what you're feeling and don't let other people rule you.
I mean, I think a huge part of it too is the confusion. So, I mean, I think part of the whole divisiveness and the fear anger combo of the other group or whatever is that really the truth of the matter is I'm fairly confident that nobody knows everything about what's going on. And so you have to make a choice. You have to choose for you which direction you're going to go, or at least that's what it feels like, right? You have to make a choice. And so when you make that choice, of course, you're going to do a certain amount of research and try to decide you're right. But I think even sometimes we're afraid that we're wrong. So we want to validate that we made the right choice.
Oh, yeah.
And part of that validation process, I think, is maybe convincing someone else to agree with us and say, yes, you made the right choice because I made the same choice. So, I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, even aside from all the part of being afraid that the choices that other people make are going to affect you in a negative way, either make you sick or force you to have to do something you don't want to do or put you at risk or whatever, right? So there's so many reasons to want to choose right, to be right, to prove to you're right, and to make everybody else agree with you and do the same thing, because there's the sense of that we're all at so much grave risk, right? Death. We're at risk of dying, right? I mean, that's pretty much what's being pushed out there, right?
It's survival. And everybody has that fear that when it comes to death or loved ones, it's fight or flight. Survival mode really kicks in. And that's when the fear hits you and you react, you overreact, you get mad at other people, maybe for no reason, maybe for a reason. But you get in that survival mode and you get all tensed up and it hurts your heart, it hurts your body,
Oh my gosh,
you get
yes.
so tense. And I mean, the blood pressure spike. I know somebody who was going to have a whole pacemaker put in because everything was overwhelming for him. So
Oh, wow.
it's something that you have to realize where you're at.
Well, and for being a school teacher and a parent, that mama bear mode kicks in too. And on both sides, it's not just like, oh, only the vaccinated go into mama bear or only the unvaccinated go into mama bear. A lot of us went into mama bear, and there's nothing stronger. Like, some of us don't care about what happens to us. I don't care, but don't you mess with my kids. And for some of them, it's like, don't you endanger my kids by not getting vaccinated? And for some of them, it's like, don't you put that poison in my kid, right? And so it's just like, it's so intense. And I'm at a loss. I have tried throwing 7 different kinds of smoke at finding peace or comfort or just calmness, confidence. So many of those words that allow you to move forward, to just breathe and move forward with your life without feeling pushed and pulled and Yeah, it's a tough time.
Well, fear can freeze you in your place.
I definitely am getting sometimes that whole deer in the headlights mode, right? It's like, I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to sit here. I'm not going to make any plans for tomorrow, any plans for today,
It's the wait and see mode.
yeah.
I've had that a lot in
like,
certain areas of my life. It's like, it's getting unbearable. Let's wait and see where it goes. Let's not breathe too hard and make anybody, jump in any direction in my life. Let's see what happens. And then we'll make a decision. And I do that a lot when I'm nervous or scared of something because I don't want to make the wrong decision. Jumping too far in the wrong way. And even though I'm a metaphysical person, a spiritual person, and I know there's no such thing as the wrong direction, it still feels like a waste of time to learn the lesson that you don't need to do, it seems like. It's like, couldn't I just skip that part and go to the good stuff? I want to live in joy. That's what my business is all about. It's about connecting to your joy. But sometimes you don't recognize joy until you get through the garbage. I almost said crap. I don't know if I can say that, but I just did, and I'm not cutting that out. So it's something that if you don't go through the junk, sometimes you don't recognize the joy. But I think that after a while, maybe you don't have to do as much junk in order to be able to recognize the joy.
Let's certainly hope not. Although, I got to be honest with you, I'm like, I've been on this planet quite a while now, and it just seems like the lessons keep coming. I think the lessons get a little bit easier because you're like, oh, wait, I sort of saw this movie. It wasn't the exact same movie, but, it was similar, and I got through that, and I didn't think I could. And so I'm pretty sure I can get through this. It doesn't really make it going through it like pleasant, but it at least gives you the confidence that, hey, if I swam that river once, I can swim this other river, probably.
And every once in a while, there's something that comes up that totally blindsides
like an alligator.
I know. It's like, where did that come from? I was just fine, and I've seen all these other things before, but what is this?
Yeah.
Why did this come up? All right, wait a minute. And it's like, how do I get through this? It's different.
Yeah.
And that might be when you need help from someone. Don't be afraid to go out there and get help if you need it, whether it's a life coach or a minister or a friend or whoever it is. Spouse, maybe. Sometimes they don't make it better. But, just saying.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. Yes.
Sometimes they're in it with you too close. Yeah. And they can't step back. But it's something that sometimes you do need the help because it's something new and different, or you've done the same thing 20 times and you haven't changed it.
We'll cross that bridge on another day. And is it allowable to bring in energy? Always in my life, there seems to be a certain amount of energy, but it sort of felt like in the past, people kept a good chunk of their own personal energy field in their own little space, right? And I don't know if it's because, and when I say energy, let me redefine, because I guess not everybody's into energy, right? That's positive emotion, negative emotion. As a performer, I'm very well aware of when you're on stage and you put energy, exciting energy, sad energy, happy energy, whatever it is, out there to the audience. They feel it and then they send it back to you. And it becomes this big cycle. And that's why rock concerts or whatever concerts are so, at live performances of many types, really are so like invigorating and exciting, much more so than, watching it on TV because that energy is real. So, I think that everybody can at least tap into, even if they're not all airy, fairy, and wooey hooey, can tap into, okay, there is
That's
something.
That's the technical term, everybody. Just saying.
Well, if you've ever walked into a room where people just had a big old fight or something, but you had no idea what transpired, the air is thick. You could cut it with a knife. Something bad just happened or something sad just happened or whatever. You have no idea what it is and you can't see it. But it's there. At least most people can feel it, right? And so at least we can acknowledge that energy exists, I suppose. But what feels different this year is it feels, for whatever reason, like either everybody's energy is so out there or so radical or so flailing. I don't really know. It just feels like regardless of whether you bump into someone and they share your opinion, although there's plenty of that to go around. My gosh, I've never seen people be so evil and mean to other people in my life, right? This is...
You don't believe my way? Then you must be the devil.
Yeah.
Or, literally, the people are so nasty, and it's amazing. I've seen it time and time again, and I don't even look for it online. Yeah. But I'll see, I've heard of it, even if I don't check it out online, because I try not to do the news, I have to say. It gets me too anxious. And I don't need to change and shift my personal energy out of where I feel I am. If I can't make a difference that way, other than just sending out like good vibes, I guess in the old days you'd say,
Yeah.
without sending out this really good energy to the world or to people that I care about, or my clients or whoever it may be. I can do that, but it doesn't always help when I have all this information I don't necessarily want to know about, because then it gets me anxious, and that's not going to help anybody I'm near. And it's not going to help and train them to my energy, which is what I want to do, including this podcast. So what do you do?
Yeah, so coming back, now that we've sort of like wandered around and talked about energy so that people can understand where I'm coming from, it feels like the energy out there is just simply chaotic, right? And it makes it hard for me to find my center, my purpose, my calmness, focus my energy. So aside from deer in the headlights, then you have that sort of buzz, or whatever, right? And it's like loud noise almost, right? It's hard to concentrate when there's a lot of noise. And I think maybe some of the listeners could relate to that, as energy is like loud noise, right? Buzzing around them. We can't quite maybe put their finger on it or hear where it's coming from, but it's definitely rattling me. Rattling me, yeah. Okay, so we've got sort of the energy, but then we also have the control and the wanting to be right and the fear. And so that is what I'm here for today, to kind of get a grip on at least some of these aspects of what we're going through, because I've pretty much canceled all of my future plans. I feel like I have no focus, no purpose. I'm afraid to try to do anything, try to book a trip. I'm afraid to try to plan for retirement, or whether I'm going to move or stay or change jobs or pretty much anything. Yeah, I've just kind of put everything on hold, and I think it's Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever, where you take it 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time. Well, that's how I feel like I've been doing for the past year and a half now, and that's it. I'm like, I don't want to mark time anymore. I don't want to be in a state of confusion anymore, or frustration or fear or whatever. So that's why I'm here. So since you're the expert,
Oh, no.
please help me, help me.
It's not that I have answers necessarily, but I have more questions for each person.
Oh.
The questions like, how are you feeling? How is this impacting you?
Oh.
Are you fearful, or are you angry, or how are you feeling? And are you a light worker? Maybe you are, and you feel like you have to fix the world. So you get even more ingrained in everybody and everything that's happening, because you're trying to figure out why it's happening so you can help everyone. And that it may be what you're supposed to do. Maybe that's your purpose, but if it's driving you crazy and you feel like you're falling apart or blowing up everything because you feel so bad about it, then it's not your purpose. You need to decide, are you the warrior that needs to go out and be on the front lines and help people? Is that what your purpose is? Or is your purpose to hold the space for other people and just not feel guilty that you're not out there on the front lines? Because maybe you're supposed to be the one making all the sandwiches for the people on the front lines.
I'm the water boy.
Exactly. You're not the fireman. You're the person making the food for the fireman.
Oh,
You're the one, it doesn't, or maybe you're driving the fire truck. I don't know. So you're somebody that maybe isn't the frontline warrior trying to make a change in the world, because who knows what that's supposed to be exactly.
Yeah.
No matter what you believe, especially light workers, I find they want to fix everybody. And light workers meaning anybody who has a high enough vibration to care about others in a more pure way.
Well, I'm not so sure I'm a light worker, but I do know from being raised in a very dysfunctional family that I am a fixer. I want to fix everyone and everything. And remind me to come back to the hold a space, because I'd like you to help sort of define that a little bit for me and explain what exactly that means. Probably the listeners want to know that too. But yeah, so it's like, okay, so the little rebel in me is like, wait, I want to figure this all out on my own. Don't tell me what the answer is. I want to figure out what the answer is. And I kind of was like that even when I was younger, right? It's like, oh, don't do this. It's bad for you. Really? Let me try it. Okay, it is or it isn't bad for you, but I would never take anyone's word, right? I would always want to decide on my own how I felt about it, whether it was, oh gosh, almost anything, to be honest with you. Don't have saltwater fish, don't drink alcohol, whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I know that's kind of bizarre, but in truth, no, I wanted to experience everything for myself and make my own personal judgments, whether I wanted to be a Democrat or a Republican or a libertarian or a vegetarian or seriously, right? I wanted to try everything for myself. And so I wish there were some clearer answers. Okay, so warrior, light work. I think, right up until now, I've been kind of, my mom, in her famous sayings, what you resist persists. Thank you. I totally forgot that one this whole last year and a half. And I have been resisting a lot of this. I work in the school. We're shutting down school. No, I don't want to shut down school. We're going back to school, but we're going to wear masks. No, I don't want to wear a mask. Whatever it is, right? I'm like, resist. I want it to go back to normal. I don't want it to change. I'm digging my heels in. What can I do to keep it from changing? But I think I've finally, after a year and a half, decided there's not much you can do. There's not much I can do. But I also don't want to just throw up in my hands and say, I'm useless, I have no purpose, because I know that I have purpose. I've been trying to wake people up. Wake up, smell the roses, right? And they're thinking, you drunk the Kool-Aid. And I am 1,000% positive that most people are looking at me going, you drunk the Kool-Aid. We all have our own personal flavor brand of Kool-Aid, right? That we're drinking right now. And
we all have our own truth.
Oh, well,
only sometimes we take on other people's truths as our own without knowing why. And other people want to know, like you want to know why all the time, which is why you do so much research.
Yeah.
And because you want to know why, it's like me, when something goes wrong and it feels like it's grating, or I want to know why I'm reacting a certain way, or why somebody is responding to me a certain way. Yeah. Once I understand why, then I can deal with it. It doesn't even bother me anymore sometimes. It depends on what the why is.
Yeah.
Because I know you had said I did something that bothered you. And then, earlier we were talking,
yeah.
And then you figured out, oh, that's me. That's something from my past.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I don't have to yell at her or take it against her because actually it was my stuff. Because it was my button that was pushed.
Yeah.
And during all of this, everybody's fears are being pushed. Those buttons of survival are like, Like,
I know the word is, the buzzword now is trigger. I've been triggered. Yeah, so I'm beginning to feel like the whole resistance thing, the whole trying to convince everyone to think my way, trying to share information and save the world. Maybe they just don't have the information or whatever. Maybe that's some people's paths and some people's purpose and whatever, but it's not working for me. It's definitely not working for me. It is just destroying my optimism and my joy and my focus and my path. I mean, wherever I'm going, I'm okay if my path has twists and turns. But right now, I feel like, I've just either hit a huge roadblock. That's exactly what I was going to say. Roadblock. I was going to say I've stopped and deer in the headlights, but no, I feel like it's more like a roadblock or a combination of those two things. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to mark time any longer. It's time to figure out something that works, that actually works, because nothing I've tried in the last year and a half has really worked. So in figuring out something that works, okay, so if raging my fist in the air is not working, and it's not, by the way, or sharing with others, or to sort of vent it out and spew it out there, that's not working either. I've tried that. Regurgitate. It's like, it's an endless supply. You mentioned holding space, and so that sort of seems like let that pendulum swing back. Okay, so if you're not going to put out all this sort of almost aggressive energy, and I would say that's what I've been doing, right? Putting out aggressive energy. You said holding space. Please elaborate on for me what that means and what it does and how to do it.
I kind of feel like when you hold your energy, you are not allowing other people to get in. And a lot of times with energy work,
so it's a kind of protection.
Yeah, it's like almost like a force field. Almost everybody's seen that kind of a movie.
Yeah.
Where you put up a force field to not allow other people's energy you don't want in your space to get into your space. Because everybody has those people that bring them down. Well, the world is those people now. Almost everybody in the world is at some point or another having fear and shooting it at you, and you're getting it from every direction. Whether they're your friends that are showing fear and talking about it, sort of in the old-fashioned water cooler, it used to be about, oh, guess who did this to what? And it was gossip. Now it's like, oh, I'm going to die tomorrow, or I'm going to do this because of that. And you're going, and you're getting it from everywhere.
So intense, right?
Exactly.
Strangers on the street attacking you, right? You're like, I don't even know you. What did I do?
Well, and it comes to the point where you have to realize that you step back from the world.
Okay.
Whether that means you stop doing social media and give yourself a break, or which is, I know it's hard if you have your phone attached to your hand all the time. It's got to be something where you step back and you reassess what's working for you and what's not.
If engaging with everything that's going on is making you anxious and crazy and scared and all these other things, then maybe you need to take a break from the news. You need to take a break from the world and that kind of world and all that stuff that's out there, and allow yourself to fill yourself back up again with your joy or whatever you love to do so that you are in a better place. And we talk about raising your vibration in Marconics and in other spiritual kind of words that people use. In other words, you're not feeling the heavier emotions. You're not feeling pain or anger or fear as much. So you want to feel the peace and the joy and to put that out in the world to help everybody else who's feeling the anger and the worry without maybe having to actually put it out in the world. You're just doing it energetically because, like you say, you walk into a room, you can feel when somebody is upset. If you walk into a house that you want to buy or an apartment you want to rent, if you walk in and it has everything you want and you go, I don't want it, the person that's with you is going to go, what's your problem? Unless they feel the same way you do.
Yeah.
Because you're going to say, it's everything on your list. Every single thing is on your list. And you go, no, it's not home. It doesn't feel right. And you may not know why. I mean, I've had men and women both do that. And you're going, well, what do you mean? I don't know. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
It's not right for me. And they may say it different ways, but men feel it too. They may not say it doesn't feel right, but they say something where, this isn't it.
Yeah.
And you're going, but it's on your list. It doesn't matter. It's not it. Because they feel some sort of a weird energy pattern that somebody's left behind, really. There's no other explanation as to why it doesn't feel right when it's got every single thing on your list.
Unless, of course, it's haunted.
Well, but that's an energy, right?
Oh, that's true, yeah.
It's an energy that somebody leaves behind or still is there, if you believe in that.
Only kind of laugh at that because when the kids were little, we were looking at houses and we all left the house and went, it's haunted. And we'd never said that about any other house before, but it was a cute house with lovely property, and it was like, nobody wanted to go back, right? So whether it's haunted or not, or just has bad energy for whatever reason, I mean, I'm not.
Well, and that's the part of it is, what energy are you putting out in the world? What energy are you emitting that you're putting out there? Are you fearful? Are you trying to prove you're right because you're telling everybody what you know is happening in the world because you've done your research? How is this? What kind of energy are you putting out, and then what are you getting back? If it's the exact push me, pull you back from what you're putting out, and it's not feeling right to you, then something's wrong in the way you're approaching yourself.
Oh, that's a great way of pulling this back around. Yeah, if whatever I'm doing does not feel right, then it's wrong.
Well, and we talk a lot of times, and I know we've talked about the mirror thing, which means...
I hate it when the mirror comes up.
Well, because basically that means that if something's happening and you don't understand why, or it's something nasty or something awful, and you're going, what the heck is that? A lot of times it's something that you're putting out that you don't see, that is being mirrored back at you, and maybe even a person who normally wouldn't act like that will do that gift. That's a quote. It's a gift, right? That they're telling you, this is how you're acting. They're not doing it on purpose. It's almost like the universe says, show them. And then they say something and they're acting a fool and you're going, what the hell is the matter with this person? This person never does this. Why are they doing this? Why are they in my face? And maybe they do that, but you don't know them. And they just start talking to you out of the blue. When you finally figure it out, it shows up that it's something you don't want to see in yourself.
Yeah, well,
and that's the mirror.
Exactly what the mirror is, and it doesn't take me very long to figure out, but I sure hate it. It's like, look at how ugly you're being. Oh, stop it! I know it's true. Go away. Right down here. Yeah, I mean, the mirror is a fabulous, fabulous learning and growth tool. It is, but I really hate it because that means I have to take responsibility for it.
Well, so many people, that's it. People don't take responsibility for anything anymore.
It's always the other person's fault.
They blame everybody.
Yeah.
There's no responsibility. It's always the other person's fault. They say, you hurt me. But you're going, but why? Look at why. Don't just say you hurt me. What is it about that thing that hurts in your being? Now, some people are just rude and horrible and obnoxious, and they're going to hurt everybody they talk to. Yeah. But generally, if it's somebody that you even care about at some point, unless they're being horrible and they switched on you, it's going to be something that you can look at yourself and say, it's in my past. It's something I'm working on, whether it's karmic or it's whatever it may be. It could just be in a near past that you had something happen in a relationship, and you're showing that and putting that on top of somebody else, and you're seeing that. So the whole thing about energy shifting is to make sure you're in your own space and you're not living in someone else's, not taking on their energy, not pulling in the fear from other people, but allowing yourself to take the time away, figure out where you're at and what would work best for you, because only you know, and maybe you don't know. So then you have to try different things. Because I know you've tried different things to deal with it, and I have too. And for me, it works best to only turn on the news occasionally, because everybody will tell me if it's something super important. I don't have to worry about that, especially I know you do. If it's super important, I'm going to hear about it at some point. But I mean, it's more important to me to stay in my peace, to stay as much joy as I can find. And I have my own issues right now with things I'm going through, so I don't always have that. But I'm finding it more and more that it's like those outside things I can step back from. I can allow other people to be in their nonsense, and I don't have to step and participate. And sometimes I can send out this appreciation mode where I just appreciate that person for where they're at, knowing they're doing what they're doing, because that's all they can do right now. And when I send out the appreciation, feeling for that person and where they're at, a lot of times they stop talking because they lose their train of thought. Sometimes it might be age, because I do that just because I lose my train of thought, I think. But sometimes when somebody gets nuts on me, I will start appreciating them, and I emanate this feeling. And all of a sudden they kind of stutter over their words and they stop talking and they don't know why. So if you're one-on-one with someone, that's one thing. If you're dealing with the whole world, it's kind of hard to, well, you can appreciate the whole world, but they may not stutter and stop talking. It's more just being in your space, finding what your path is so that you can feel good with the way you react to the chaos that's going on.
I'm glad you used the word react. So I'd like to, at some point, so don't let me forget, go back to the how to unplug, right? Because that's a big, huge challenge for me, and I think for a lot of people, right? We're kind of beyond that right now, and I don't want to get completely away from it, but please remind me about that. So react, yes. So I think we sort of covered that there's a need to unplug, and we'll do some tips and tricks for that in a minute. To take a moment to stop and feel. How are you? Where are you? What is going on with you? To own more of it. So that's the beauty of, I'm not sure if it's metaphysics or whatever, but when you realize that you are creating the things that are happening to you, the first reaction is, oh my gosh. No, right? You don't want to own responsibility, and what a horrible thing to think, oh my gosh, I created all these awful things or big challenges or whatever it is. But the glory of it is, as soon as you realize that you are more responsible for what's happening to you, around you, whatever, all of a sudden it shifts and you're like, I am responsible and for what happens around me. So now you become empowered rather than feeling awful. I don't want to own that responsibility. Now you're like, wait, if I've created it, that means I can create something else.
Something
right?
better for me.
Yes, yes, exactly.
I'm going to stop the session now because it is another 40 minutes of session, and I want to have a part 2 so that you can come back and hear all about the next section. A lot of it has to do with unplugging from the world, finding ways to get out of social media if you're stuck there, but there's also so much more to this session that is so exciting. And I want you to remember that whatever you're going through, you can do it. You are a powerful human being, and you can do whatever you need to do. Please come back and listen to part 2 of Nancy's life coaching session on how to deal with the chaos and the energy in the world the way it is right now. Thank you so much for joining me here today. If you love the show, make sure you rate, review, and share this podcast, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Connect with me on Facebook or by email with questions and comments, ideas for future episodes, or if you would like to be a guest, give me a shout out and I'll send you an application. Until next week, remember, you are already enough to have that joyful, limitless life that you desire.
Thank you for listening to Connect to Joy. If you love the show, make sure you rate, review, and share this podcast. And subscribe so you never miss an episode. Contact the host, Carol DeChaine, with questions and comments, ideas for future episodes, or if you would like to become a guest. And remember, transformation is a journey and not an end destination. So be kind to yourself, because you are already enough to have the joyful, limitless life that you desire.